So what happened with Top Gun? Because I know you say if you sort of look at what happened with Top Gun and then the remake of Top Gun, it gives you a good insight into China's growing power.
Yeah, I think it's an appropriate bookend, because here you have the original Top Gun released in 1984, really just like the perfect emblem of Reaganism on screen. Enlistments in the armed services jump after the movie comes out. I mean, the movie does a better job of getting people to enlist than traditional enlistment campaigns do. And I mean, like, who's ever looked cooler on screen than Tom Cruise flying those jets?
Right.
So when Paramount decides they're going to reboot the film many, many years later, in 2018, they start to release some marketing materials for this new film. And the marketing materials show just how much has changed to the economics of Hollywood in the 30 years between the two films. Because you might remember that in the original film, Tom Cruise he's got his sunglasses and he's got that bomber jacket that has the patches on the back that symbolize the tour of the USS Galveston. And there is a Taiwanese flag, and there's also a Japanese flag among the patches on his back. And when the new movie was made and the new poster was released, those two flags were gone. And the reason why was because of China's influence over the film industry. Because a Taiwanese flag, to our earlier conversation, is a reminder of territorial issues and a bit of a challenge to the one China policy that Beijing wants to enforce. And tensions between China and Japan have lasted for several decades. So Chinese financiers on the new Top Gun pointed out that this might be a problem, or it might just be something to avoid, a risk not worth taking.
Wow.
And so before Chinese authorities could even say a word, Paramount removed those two patches from the jacket of the new film. And there just is something so deeply ironic about this happening to a movie as American and as sort of distinctly American as Top Gun, as a change coming to a character named Maverick, of all things.
Oh my God, we're such bootlickers now. We're bootlickers.
Well, I mean, I think what it and then the ultimate irony is that doing this doesn't necessarily guarantee the movie will be released in China. It's still possible that Chinese authorities decide they don't want their audiences to see a movie that valorizes the U.S. military to such a degree. So it might have all been for naught.
Oh, okay. Tell us what happened with the movie Red Dawn, because this was one of the big films when I came of age. Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, and when you were first saying it was problematic, I was like, I don't get it. That was about the Soviets, right? I mean, like, that wasn't about the Chinese. So what was the problem they had with Red Dawn?
It was a similar situation to Top Gun when they remade Red Dawn in 2009. MGM thought, just as you said, it has a lot of fans who grew up with the original film. So they said, let's remake it. And they said, well, a Russian invasion of the US doesn't make a lot of sense. So why don't we do China? Why don't we make it a Chinese invasion? So they write the script, they film the movie. And it's very similar to the 1980s version, where instead, this time we have Chinese paratroopers landing on the front lawn. And then
someone didn't get the memo.
Yeah, exactly. But they eventually did, because China made it clear that this could be a problem. And this is a problem for MGM for a number of reasons. One of which is MGM releases James Bond movies, and they release a lot of big budget features that rely on the Chinese box office. And those releases might be jeopardized if this Chinese version of Red Dawn was released. So MGM did something extraordinary. This is back in 2011. They send the completed movie, to a secret visual effects company here in Burbank. And they pay them $1 million to go in and frame by frame, remove every Chinese flag, every line of dialogue referencing China, and replace it with North Korea. And the movie is released as a Red Dawn remake about a North Korean invasion of the U.S.
Wow.
And the screenwriters on this film were not happy. As one of them pointed out, this is the most ridiculous thing he had ever heard in his life. We can have issues with the plausibility of the original Red Dawn. A North Korean version of Red Dawn makes even less sense. And audiences also rejected the idea outright. But what was fascinating to me is when I went back and I did research on this, I didn't find there to be a lot of outrage or consternation. People knew that MGM had done this before the new movie came out, but there really wasn't a lot of backlash. And I think it was probably because relations between the US and China were at a different point than they are now. And what's interesting, though, is that the movie did come up back in 2018 or 2019. Trump administration officials would cite that as one of the examples of, in their eyes, how Hollywood had helped fuel and support China's rise.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.